Hello, the peace of the Lord be with you. Welcome to PCG TV Sports Time with Jerome. My name is Jerome Ochri. Here we bring you all the sporting conversations with the people who matter in the world of sports. And today, guess who we have in the studio? We go for a break. When we come back, we share our scripture for the day and the show continues. Welcome back. For our scripture for today, we go to Colossians chapter 4, verses 6, where it is written, "Let your conversation be gracious and attractive, so that you will have the right response for everyone." And this is where we encourage you to always be mindful of how you speak, what you say, how you talk. Let it be the type that will attract people to Christ and not take them away from Christ. We go for another break. When we come back, the show continues. Welcome back. Today we are delving deep into the Ghana Premier League, which ended just some few weeks ago. And by delving deep, we have in the studio to help us understand all the numbers and all the things that transpired in the Ghana Premier League relative to the statistics. It's someone who has dedicated himself to the game, to the competition, compiling all the numbers that matter. And here I'm talking about Mohammed Shaban, who I would describe as the data man, but he is the statistician at the Ghana Football Association. Let's just say he is a football statistician. Shaban, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you because I have been looking at a lot of the data that you have been churning out, producing for the Ghana Premier League. And I must say I'm impressed. But before we go into those conversations, let me take your thoughts on this. The first time I came across you was when you were marrying. I mean, permit me that I'm going a bit personal, but this is a religious channel, and we always want to find out a bit about the faith of the people we brought onto our show. I was struck, or I was pleasantly surprised to learn that although you bear a Muslim name, you're a Christian.
Yes, it's
Tell
true.
me about that.
Yes, my father is a Fanti, it's called Bra Kwame. My mother is Kotokoli, she has passed on.
Sorry
and so, yes, so I stayed with my mom a bit, but then my real name on documents when I was born was Kwesi Akwa.
Okay.
Yes, so growing up, I had to follow my mommy, so they have to give me some Muslim name, which I'll be using. But of course, I used to go to church with my late grandma, that's my father's mother, and all that. So I still had that belief. So growing up, I decided to follow my father and be a Christian.
That's interesting. But so where do you go to church?
Pentecost.
Oh, you're a Pentecost.
Yes.
Okay, that's nice. But tell me, how does the things of God or your faith in Christ shape what you do?
Yes, it has developed a path for me. For instance, I have my values, and that is why when I started my journalism career, I looked at the path I want to follow because my colleagues were doing more European. They were getting their numbers, but I stick to my faith. And that was 6-7 years ago. I remember one of the things I will never forget, my first day on the GBC. That was my birthday.
Okay.
And it was something I prayed to God that it should do in my life and also develop me through my career path. And so if I'm all over today, I believe that it's because of the path I have and through God who guided me through whatever I'm doing, not to focus on what others are doing, but then to pay attention to myself.
That's brilliant. And to be honest with you, I mean, it's not because you are sitting here, but I have been looking at the work you are doing and I'm very impressed. I mean, I know a lot of people who also talk about it. So how did it all start? Who brought you to the FA? How did you get to the FA to be handed this office of producing the numbers on the Ghana Premier League, for example?
All right, so I started my journey. I remember in 2016, I was going to do surgery at a rich hospital. Then I met a journalist. At that time, I was going to stadium around 2012, 2013. I remember my last time as a bus conductor was in 2013.
You were a bus conductor?
Yes, yes. I did that from 2008 to 2013.
Interesting.
Yeah, so from that time, every Sunday I don't work, I go to stadium just to, because I wanted to become a journalist. And I remember in 2010, I was listening to radio and a Ghanaian journalist said on air, after discussing Real Madrid's Champions League game, and said on air that the Premier League has no direction, it has no data, and it has no story.
That's the Ghana Premier League?
Yes.
And that triggered you to...
Then I said, I'll change the narrative. Now I'll try to write 20, 30 stories on the Premier League. So I started that journey, going to stadium myself. And then in 2016, I was going to do surgery. I met a journalist who has brought his grandma to the hospital. Then I took his number. So he took me to one of the stations. Then the journey started.
Do you care to mention his name, or it's not something?
He's called Mr. Baini. He works at the bank now. He's Mr. Ebu Baini.
I see.
So he took me to one of the media house, and I started my journey. Then in 2020, all my tweets and my write-ups on Facebook and on Twitter has been Ghana Premier League. Then the president of the Ghana Football Association sent me a message directly.
He called you himself?
Yes, he sent me a message directly that he wants to meet me at the office. Then I told him I have a GPL program. When I'm done with the GPL program, I'll attend to him.
So you met him?
Yes, and eventually met him. He said I should work with him. Then I said no.
Why?
Because I want to focus on my project.
Which was promoting the Ghana Premier League. But then that was an opportunity for you to, work on what you wanted to do on a bigger platform.
Yes, but I wanted to do it on my own and see how I can do it on my own, and then later I'll join and see how I can also do with a group.
So how did it all change?
Yeah, so in 2021 I wrote a book, GPL Statistics book.
Yeah.
And I sent him an invite. I came to the FA. When I came, he wasn't around. So I gave it to the General Secretary, Lawyer Prosperous Nado. And then that day, the program should start at 6, but President was there at 5. He was the first person.
Wow.
Yes.
To be honest with you, I'm hearing this for the first time, but if there is anything that the Ket Okreku administration has done which is good, or if there are things they have done which is good, I think bringing you to the FA will be one of them. So, yes, you got to the FA and you had an office to yourself to start a project like this. How was the beginning like, and how would you say you have traveled from that point to now that you are more or less becoming an authority, if you are not already an authority, in this game?
Yes, it was very difficult, especially working at an association. I've always said that it's one of the difficult decisions to make as a young boy, because, all the time the Premier League is not good. That has been the tag. And I am looking at that area. Sometimes I want to write, I want to create, we do graphics and all that, and then I'll still hear the league is not good. I go home and I can't sleep, but I still want to do something. And whatever people say encourages me. I remember last 2 years, there were people who said, oh, it's not doing it. These things are basic things, but it encouraged me. So every season I improve on the graphics, on what I want to produce with the team. I said, let's do this. And then with the help of the graphic designers and the team, we're able to churn out information that has never happened before. For instance, I have gone through the history of the Premier League from 1958. I've never seen a clean sheet table before. I don't even know the total number of goals scored in the 1970 Ghana Premier League. But I've been able to create that ideas, bring them together. And the focus is that the next 10 years, I want the journalists that will come out will look back in 20 years of the Premier League and bring out all the information.
This is very visionary of you, because I had the privilege of working with Mr. Kembede Akun, who wrote the Ghana League history 1958 to 2012. And I had first-hand information of the data that he was able to collect. And at some point, some seasons we didn't get any information, although he managed to still write the book. Is it something that you think we can do something about? How do we change it? I know you are doing this to help fill a gap, But have you faced the challenge of having to abandon something you wanted to do because maybe the data is not there?
Yes, how I wish I could look back and then look at who was the best goalkeeper in 1970, and I don't have the information. I have to now rely on the current ones I am doing. And then sometimes I want to go back with some history, but I have to stick because, for instance, Ebenezer Aban has scored 13 goals as a defender in the Premier League. In the last 4 years, no other defender has done that. But I remember last year, Atinga scored 11 goals as a centre-back, most proud to this season. Then Atinga last year scored 9 from the sport kick. Ebenezer Aban also scored 9 from the sport kick. Now I want to look back to maybe 1960 as to which defender had 13 goals in the season.
And that information
that
is not there.
Is not available.
Okay, we're going for a short break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Mo Shaban. Welcome back. Before the break, Shaban was telling us how difficult it is to get information on years gone by when you want to talk about the Ghana Premier League. But he's working so hard to generate data that 20 years to come, we will not struggle to get information on our league. Shaban, let me take your thoughts on this. So, is it your collection of the data? Is it by manual processes? Is it from referees' reports or match reports, newspaper articles, newspaper reports? How do you go by the sort of data you are putting together? For instance, if you take yellow cards, red cards, goal assists, I mean, as for scorers, maybe you can watch the matches or even follow commentaries and put the names down. But how do you collect the data?
All right, so we have the first-hand information, which the GFA has every VMO across all match centers from the Premier Division 1 Women's League. Then the final one is the CMS. We have a system where the referees put their reports there. Okay. So I am able to sit everywhere and then generate the reports. And
has this CMS been there, or it's something that came recently? Because when I was reporting on the Ghana Premier League, I'm not sure something like that was there.
This administration is there. I think it's a positive a thing they've done so far, because we have a CMS, a system where because the referee's report goes there, the CMS is the same thing that generates the league table. And so when they put the information there, when the referee enters 2-0, then another venue enters 1-0, it will come together, it will collate those information and then generate a league table on the website.
Yeah, and the question I was asking is this something that has always been there, or it's just this administration that brought that system?
Well, I went to the FA and we have the CMS, which I am working with. Yes,
all right,
yes,
that's good. So the first-hand information you talk about, the VMOs, and now the system. Is there any other?
Yes, so that is the two
main
ones
where
we get information.
You are using.
Yes.
And how's the team like? I mean, do you work alone? Do you work with other people aside the graphic designers?
Yes, we have a communication team. So the Mr. Henry Asante Chum is there.
Yeah, he's
we have Mr. Neil Armstrong Motagbe, Mr. Akoto. So these are the team. So whenever I work on something and I want their thoughts, then I get to them, I speak to them, tell them this is the idea, this is the plan, this is what I want to put out and all that. Then I finally come out to those informations, and they've been very superb in terms of the support and what would help me, because this is an association, this is not my personal project like I've been doing years ago, and so I have to make sure that the plans are in line to the values of the association and whatever they want to do.
I've been looking at some of the statistics you produced for the just ended season, and one fascinating flyer I see is the general stats. After match week 34, 306 matches were played, 179 matches, 179 wins, 51 away wins. Now, the interesting bit for me is the number of yellow cards compared to the red cards. I find the gap too wide. 1,044 yellow cards as against 47 red cards.
Yes, even with the red cards, it has reduced because if you pick the 47 red cards, it has also been divided into two in one of the graphics.
Okay.
We have the direct and the double yellow.
The second one.
So the direct is 21.
Okay.
And the double yellow is 26. It tells you that the double yellow is more of a yellow card, and then the direct is the red cards. And so that has also reduced in terms of player performance. Then two, you talk about the yellow card. Then it tells you that in every game, there's 4 yellow cards, 2 for each side. And if you are looking at it from that angle, it is good because if per game we have just 4 number of yellow cards, that is not a bad because at least they will go for tackles and all that. Goalkeepers will delay in the game, and you know African football is mainly of a delay game. Then the statistics is also meant to take away perception because sometimes we speak with feeling. I feel that this is the data, and that has not helped us in terms of developing our game. So with these statistics, now I can be able to tell you that most often, if you want to win the Premier League, you need to perform at home. And that is why if you look at the total games, 306, then you look at home wins, it's more than the away wins. So you look at 51 away wins compared to the home wins and the draws. So most often, teams go for away fixtures and then try to pick a point. And then you look at the total goals scored in the season.
I was coming to that. And I like what you've done, comparing this season, the just ended season, to 2-3 seasons back. So, for instance, in 2020-2021 season, there were 306 games. The games have always been the same since that time, 306. But the goals for 2021 was 691, as against 627 for the following season, 2022. And then 644 and 628. It appears this season's number of goals was just one short of that of 2021.
Yes, and interestingly, if you pick that statistics, you can be able to project that next season we'll have 600 plus goals because it is always 600. Then secondly, if you pick the last 4 years of total goals, 2020, 2021, 691, which is the highest in the last 4 years. And then 2021, 22, where we had 644. If you compare those kind of goals. Now, in 2021, 22, it was the season that an individual player had more goals than the entire last 4 years.
I see.
But it's the same season that had the least
number of goals.
So this is where we talk about individual success and group success.
Okay.
So in 2021-22, we had 627 goals, and it is the least among the last 4 years. But in the same season, we had a player scoring 22 goals, winning the top scorers awards. Now, if you pick that angle, now someone will ask, Mo, so why is it that this season he recorded 628, last season he recorded 644? Because often coaches base on the goals conceded to recruit their players. So for instance, last season, because most of the teams conceded, the focus this year was to sign defenders. An example, Kotoko signed Nuruddin Yusuf Mohammed, Henry Ansu Fibroku, Chelsea. They were centre backs. How to Fuchs signed Kevin Osesibe, they signed Opon Afrani. And so all the teams focus on defense. And so they tried to fix their defense, and then the attack also became a problem. And that is why we didn't have more goals up front.
So a couple or a number of the stats, your office has produced. We have the top 10 most home goals, the top 10 most away goals, and I see Asante Kotoko there.
Yes.
It's very interesting. And then top 5 scorers, debutants. Very interesting. All of that showing on your screen. One slide I want us to look at, it's the penalty table. Very interesting. Heart of Lions had as many as 11 penalties awarded them, and they scored 9 of it, and then 2 they missed. But what I find most fascinating is Accra Lions. They neither had a penalty nor, of course, if you don't have it, you can't convert or miss. How does it happen that a club goes throughout 34 matches and did not have a single penalty awarded them?
That is the importance of statistics, because Heart and Kotoko matches are always live on TV, and usually I create the statistics based on perception. So I look at what people say to create a data out of it. So there are people who say Kotoko always gets most penalties because he has watched Kotoko live game and they were awarded a penalty. The next live game, they were awarded. Maybe the 2 live games he watched are the only penalties awarded to Kotoko. But because he has watched the 2 games, the perception is that all the time Kotoko receives penalty. And so the focus is to create these statistics. And you see, Accra Lions, they are the most attacking side. When they play, they run, they are very fast, very swift. So the perception is that they always get the penalty at Accra Sports Stadium. But after 34 matches, it was 0 for them. Then you talk about Heart of Lions, who nobody thought they would even have most penalties in the season. Recorded 11, Kotoko 6, Heart of Folk 2, scored 1 and missed 1.
We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Welcome back. Now, I want to find out from Mo Shaban how the clubs take the kind of work his office or the FA does relative to producing data. Mo, is it even important for these clubs that you produce this work on? I mean, do they pay any attention whatsoever to the kind of data you have been putting out? Do you think it is something that influences the work they do at training, what the coaches think, how they think? Have you come across any information that suggests that they pay any attention at all to what you do?
Well, I think in among the 18 Premier League teams, it is 2 teams that
Only 2?
Yes, have contacted me.
2 out of 18?
Yes, Mo, what do you think about this? And you know, the statistics goes a long way to even affect match officials. So I've always told them that when I go on air weekly, I tell them the match officials also have their statistics. And I know a referee who shows a lot of red cards. And I know a referee who doesn't want to award a penalty. You go down, he will tell you, let's proceed. But there are referees that when you fall in the 18-yard box, no matter how it is, you will whistle.
Yeah,
that's a statistic.
To take your thoughts on that, I have not seen you put out those referees.
Yes, those things.
Well, for good reasons. Anyway.
Those days when I was working alone, I produced the number of yellow cards a referee. But this time around, I want to.
No, I understand.
Yes, and those are.
I mean, just to protect the integrity of the referees.
Yes.
I mean, this is not something that the FA itself should be putting out.
Yes.
I think if journalists on their own will do that, that's individuals working. But the FA must do everything not to put out information that may be misinterpreted or may create problems for the league it wants to build. I mean, that's understandable. But you were talking about how the clubs treat this information. And I find it surprising that of the 18 Premier League clubs, only 2.
Yes.
Is it that these are the 2 that have come publicly to you, or they look at it on their phones, copy it somewhere, and it influences what they do on the quiet?
They pick it, they'll call me. So what do we go about it? How is it? Then I'll tell them, this is how the statistics talks about this team, their strength and their weakness. And they've used it. I think last time Samatex came out to Mr. Edmonaka, the general manager, I was speaking on Asempa. I thought it would be something that I'll just help him, but he came out to speak about it.
I see.
And then in Swatraman, Mr. Eric Alagi, the general manager, also came out to speak about it.
Is it not because these are the 2 most exciting teams for this season? Samatex being the league champions, and Swatraman being the FA Cup champions. Maybe they were in a good mood and they just wanted to praise you for your work and not necessarily paying attention to.
They call.
They do.
Yes, they call all the time. Usually around 10 to 11 p.m.
I see.
They will call me
after their game.
After everything, they will ask me the strength, the weakness, what happened, then I will explain to them. And I think when I go on air, sometimes even the statistics is able to even predict the results of a game.
Yeah.
And when I speak about it, I don't know whether they also focus on it or pay attention to that. Maybe they just think it's just a statistics. You know, I feel that it will take some time for us to accept this project.
Yeah.
For now, it looks like a number, 15, 10, 8, but it is telling us something. It is telling us a story. That is why I say using the Premier League to tell a story or a positive story. So today, it might look like 1+1, but as time goes on, like I said, the next 10 years, we will look back and then know what the statistics has done for us. For instance, I remember 10 years ago, we were in the game more. nobody will go and sign a relegated goalkeeper, a
Sure.
team. Yes, but today the statistics is saying that Benjamin Asare had the most clean sheets and the second best most clean sheets goalkeeper in the last 4 years.
I see.
And so it's now pushing Kotoko and Hart and all the big clubs to poach him, because even though his side are relegated, Bofo are relegated, their goalkeeper Emmanuel Kobe is also out there because of the numbers he churned out through the statistics.
So in effect, I mean, these clubs may not have come to you, but they see this information out there, and that more or less determine some of the decisions they want to take. That's a good plus. I mean, it's a good development. But tell me, is it just for the Premier League, or the FA, who you work for, have plans to take this down the Premier League? And I'm talking about the First Division League, the Second Division. Do you have any idea, or is there any plan, work going on to also produce data? I mean, this kind of data on the Division 1 League, for example.
Yeah, so before I joined the FA, I was doing the Premier League. When I joined, the last 2 years I've done for Division 1. So currently, Division is over. We recorded 704 matches. The Women's League is over. We recorded 181 games. The Women's FA Cup is over. We produced data. And then the MTN FA Cup, I produced data. The Premier League. And so all the...
Maybe my focus has always been on the Premier League. I have not looked at the others. But what will you say to the media out there? Because, I mean, elsewhere, it is some people's business. It's not just the FA's business to just collate data on the league and run it. Some others do it independently and even sell it. What would be your advice to the media out there, companies interested in promoting sports relative to producing data on our league?
Yes, I would say that the focus should be promoting the product. I am employed at the FA because of the Premier League. And I'm not sure the EPL would appoint me to come and work for them. Maybe in the future, but for now, it will be very difficult. So I believe that if we pay attention to the product and report positively, because this is an aspect of reporting the product and reporting positively using statistics, because there's a lot of aspect of promoting a product. I feel we need to pay attention to that. And I know this is a difficult job. Not all of us can do it, but whoever is doing it, we need to embrace it. We need to show support, and we need to push whatever the person is doing, so that at the end of the day, all of us will benefit from the Premier League. Because if the players we are promoting goes to the Black Stars, they travel to play in the EPL, Spanish La Liga, the glory comes back to us. We go back and say, oh, I know this player. I wrote a lot about him from King Faisal, and he's now playing in the EPL. So we need to focus.
I mean, I share your sentiments on promoting the league, but sometimes I get frustrated too by the kind of things that happen that sometimes you can't do anything about it. Do you get disturbed when you hear such things, or do you think that the negatives that happen in our league affect the kind of work you do?
Yes.
How
It
does
affects. For instance, when there's a focus that the league is not the best. When I put statistics out, people write and I read comments. Forget about this league. You are worrying yourself. I read them. I see. Sometimes I get home and my wife would encourage me, Mo, don't give up. I have seen, because she follows all my tweets and I do. You say, oh, I know how you feel. Sometimes I won't sleep.
How do you think we can, I mean, what can we do to beat down the negative feedback we get from, like you just said that when you post things, people come and tell you to forget about this league. How can we beat down that feeling?
It's just by coming together. And for instance, the season is over. We need to come together and think about what we can do collectively, like we do for other. For instance, the Black Stars is always getting the hype. The media is always projecting the Black Stars. I think that when we come together, that this season, the focus is that agenda promoting the Premier League. We can be able to do it, and then we take off the focus on because as for negativity, it's everywhere. Yes, but we can minimize it and then pay attention to the positive. For instance, there's a perception that a match is fixed. Meanwhile, we've not looked at other aspects. I remember Heart of Oak Nations FC. The perception was that but if you pick statistics, Nations FC have only scored 4 away goals in 17 games. So if we look at other aspects, we might even come to understand that this is not the case. So I want all of us to come together and promote the product.
Thank you very much, Mo Shaban, for this conversation. Even though brief, I have taken a lot, and I know some other time we're going to come back to you and pick more from you on how, the kind of work you are doing for our local football. Viewers, this is where we'll end Sports Time with Jerome for this weekend. Hopefully next week we'll come your way again with another conversation on our sports. Thank you. Goodbye.